All right, you know what? I was talking and I was still muted. Melanie, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. And happy Monday. Great to hang out with you for the second or third time today. So thank you so much for
Absolutely.
inviting me to join you and for your warm welcome to your amazing communities.
You know what? I seen your post earlier and I was like, it was funny because I saw you saying, I'm trying not to sing a song and you're excited. And I realized I was so excited, I was still muted and I couldn't wait to just turn this on and get ready, Melanie.
Don't feel bad. Hey, Dr. Marcia, don't feel bad. I went live last week and I was outdoors and kicked myself out of my live. So you're doing good. You were here, you were present, you didn't leave the studio. You're all good.
Can you hear it though? Are you ready for it?
Yes. I promise not to sing off key.
I'm so excited. I love that. I know you are the person that loves songs. So I was like, let me play a snippet of I'm so excited.
Well, thank you so much. I want to make sure I don't put you in any copyright territory on one of your platforms,
I
but
know.
I thank you so much for the snippet.
Let me cut it off before they get me. Well, all right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for another member spotlight. Melanie, ever since we started the Audio Leadership Club, I think this has been one of the funnest things I love doing is spotlighting you guys. So for those of you that may not have seen any of our promo, today we're going to be talking about hashtag Ignite Trust, right? Aligning experiences and identifying opportunities with Melanie Richards. Now, for those of you who are new to Melanie, oh, you have something amazing in store for you. She's just so powerful. If any of you are familiar, feel free to put in the comments because I'm telling you, every time, Melanie, I tune in to something that you do, I walk away with not only just feeling inspired, but more knowledge than I came in. So thank you so much for joining me.
Truly my honor and my pleasure. And hey, Jay, a Jedi across the way. And hi, Meryl. How are you?
I do want to give a few shout outs. I do see Dr. Marcia with us. I did give Jay a shout out. He's so funny, danced the night away. I do see Meryl. Meryl, thank you so much for tuning in. If you are tuning in live, let us know in the comments so that way we can say hello. All right, well, Melanie, we can get started. I would love to hand the mic over to you so you can properly introduce yourself.
Thank you so much. I am the girl from the Bronx, Meryl Let's Go Mets, who is the daughter of a teacher. And I wish I had leaned in sooner to feeling comfortable enough in complex environments to asking lots of questions. And I love helping other people find solutions so they're not the best kept secret in our fragile world, as I call it. I am delighted to be celebrating almost 3 years of being certified in trust and working on an advanced trust facilitator certification. And amazing Meryl, who is in the audience a couple of weekends ago, shared a link to something that helped me ask a question about where I was stuck in a trust project. So what I'm laughing at, and hey Sean, Sean, no, this is 4 doses. Like we hung out with you also. Uh, I didn't have a chance to type during your live before, but I think as I'm introducing myself, I really just want to give amazing thanks to our host Amelia, because if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have tried the CEDAR Trust masterclasses in her amazing audio leadership club. So I'm flipping the script. This amazing woman is a dynamo. She cares deeply about, we share that common interest in helping others in our fragile world. So we can help you get lighter and brighter. But man, she does it beautifully. So I want to encourage you, if you haven't had a chance, make sure you're following Amalia. Make sure you're checking out her audio leadership club on assorted platforms, and that you're following her across platforms, because she is absolutely brilliant. Hey,
Mel.
Adrian, how are you?
Hi, Adrian. Melanie, you're making me blush. No, I appreciate your kind words. I want to give a shout out to Shell because I love how she say you're a LinkedIn cheerleader, and I feel myself like up in the back in her squad with my pom poms because I like to cheer everyone on. So I love everything about Shell's branding. So I do feel like I get the most joy of supporting and helping and cheering those on. So Shell, if you're watching the replay, I'm saying hi. All right. Well, I want to. Melanie, are you still with me?
Oh, I'm definitely with you. Definitely with you.
Okay, so I want to give a few shout outs just real quick. I said hi. I see Lisa. Hi, Lisa. Thank you so much. I do see Adrian is with us as well. I want to make sure I didn't leave anyone out. I think I got everyone that just popped in, correct?
Yes, we have Adrian, we have Lisa. Hey, Lisa. We have Yvonne, we have Shawn
Mhm.
Michael, we have Jay, the Jedi.
Awesome.
Um, yep. And we have
Perfect.
Dr. Marcia and Jacqueline. Hi, how are you?
Hi, Jacqueline. Thank you for tuning in. All right, well, I'm excited because I'm ready to dive in because I know I started with the song. So I love to kick things off just to find out what songs inspire your journey to ignite trust.
So the newest one has to be Cynthia Erivo's I Forgive. And I'm falling in love with the album from the perspective of, mm, when we're in a trust lane, all is good. We can either feel like we're not comfortable trusting or we're trusting. We can feel not mm, trust resistant or trust willing. But I am, I love Kirk Franklin's remix of the Jackson Five's, the Jackson song, Can You Feel It? I've got a really assorted playlist, I think almost eclectic. And I also really love to listen to jazz. So, like Samara Joy, I would love to see her. And I know it's a wide range, but I'm taking some great advice from Precious Pitchmaster Williams, and I had a chance to see her live and in person before the pandemic. As a matter of fact, it was the last large event I went to before the pandemic. And she said she had 3 songs she listens to before she starts speaking. And that, I think, is really what's behind the songs. What songs work for you, Amalia?
I've never really had songs that I listened to before to like this is really good because I feel like that will actually help. So I'm a big affirmation person. So I'm mostly listening to like I don't know if you guys I think it's Insight Timer or something like that to where they give you mantras and things to listen to. But you're gonna laugh. Everyone like, oh, you're too because I'm in my mid 30s. I love Sade. That is like my calming anything Sade, smooth operator, anything like that really just relaxes me and kind of calm the nerves a little bit. So like Jay, I love jazz. And my daughter has put me on, I think it's called Lofi. Have you guys heard of that before?
No, haven't
Lofi.
heard of that.
So it's like background office music that just is like supposed to calm you. But I'm curious to hear from those in the chat. Do you have like a certain song or anything that motivates you or kind of get you ready for like if you're a speaker or presentation? But now, Melanie, you have me thinking about a playlist.
So you'll laugh. I have probably So on my YouTube channel, I've got a bunch of playlists for our Impossible Lives, but I probably have five personal playlists.
Oh,
I've
nice.
got the Watch Later. I have a Tears playlist for those gray days. I have I have a Trust playlist on the days when I need to. Maybe I'm about to enter a really complex environment, and the introvert is like, "Am I ready?" One that reminds me just like clear my mind and really center. I also love Margaret Martinez shared an amazing playlist that she's got in her wonderful rooms that's really mellow. But I thank you for mentioning Insight Timer. It reminds me to give a shout out to thank Jeffrey Davis and a wonderful coach by the name of Cookie Williams. Cookie was sharing stuff from Insight Timer in her clubhouse rooms when she was hosting them. And it's a really great idea, but I love that you mentioned Sade because I like Mesa also. My sister in law loved Sade and she loved Mesa. She turned me on to them both.
Okay, I'm gonna have to see who Mesa is.
Mesa has a song, Goodbye Manhattan. I fell in love with that one first from the days of being a commuter in the city. And I think also she's just got some really cool ones. And I also love Rochelle Farrell. So thanks for reminding me on the playlist. Those are some of my go-to. But my dad was a Dave Brubeck guy. So I'm one of the old souls in the sense that there's a 17-minute version of Take Five, and I probably can tell you the part of the song that we are listening to as if I could play a musical instrument.
Is Take Five the group of gentlemen that do acapella like "Spread Love"? Da da da. Is that them?
Actually, I think you're thinking of is it there is another one. Yes, there's a modern one. And Clarine Williams, like Clarine Mitchell shared it. I have to go and look that up. So thanks. I'm gonna write that down and make sure that's on the list to listen. I love music, always have. In a complex season of gratitude, grief, and growth, I became Dad's DJ. I would He loved DJ Cassidy, and I became his DJ. Would turn on the YouTube to kind of raise the energy level, because sometimes during vascular dementia he'd have kind of a gray day, and I found by the music, and he loved there are some DMV dancers. They're in the Washington, Maryland, Virginia area, and he loved watching them and listening to music. So it's really helped me lean in, and it really helps switch from a I'm not feeling trusty, the introvert kind of doesn't feel like coming out and playing at the moment. It can really help just elevate our blend and raise our vibes a bit.
I love it. And I'm being more intentional about creating lists. So I'm a huge Pandora person. So I just pick a person that I like and let them curate the playlist for me. But I feel like you've motivated me to actually go on Apple Music and actually create a list because that it matters because music does shift your mindset sometimes and even the vibe. I do see. Oh, I did see your post. Everyone want to highlight it. All right. Well, you know what? I feel like we had more people join us, so I'm just going to kind of recap of some of the things we're going to go over today. So today we're going to discuss Ignite Trust, aligning experiences and identifying opportunities with Melanie Richards. Today we are spotlighting her. She is a member of our Audio Leadership Club. And Melanie, I do have a few questions for you today that I would love to dive into if you like.
I would love to.
Awesome. So, my first question to you is how can we align our experiences with trust or mistrust to help us explore our trust willingness?
So our trust willingness, sometimes we're not feeling it. You're in a complex workplace situation, or You could be used to working from home and you're at a really large networking event or at a chamber event, or we're in a family situation, a family reunion, some sort of really complex environment. And before we leave, almost, before we get in the car, before we buy the ticket, before we open the door, I encourage you to take a couple of deep breaths and really lean in to think of whether you're in a trust willing mode. The days when I'm not in a trust willing mode, this introvert shouldn't necessarily come out to play. Those events were on my calendar, and that plain little that Google Calendar kind of light purple. It can mean that it's optional. I think the way you explore it is really what helped me was trying to journal or ask or kind of check in and kind of see whether my barometer was on warm or sizzling. Today's one of those really great days, and I loved starting off the day in Art of Peaceful Living, Pam Ray's community. And then I had a cool call to reconnect with somebody. And then I popped into your amazing Monday morning and hung out with you and Sean. That really elevated the trust willingness for the day. We got to hang out with people we adore who kind of light us up. I hope that helps a little bit.
It does. And do you feel like when you align or circle yourself around people you trust, does it change your trajectory of the day?
Ooh, dramatically. It changes it almost like as if we were in a hot air balloon, as opposed to on a roller coaster about to go downhill, and you're not sure your seatbelt's on tight enough. I think sometimes that resistance, I'll admit it, I'm a Crocs girl. And I fell in love with Crocs because I had forgotten to pack my sandals on a trip to Hawaii. And a good friend's like, you need something so we can hang out on the beach. So Crocs remind me of walking in the sand and the water. And the person who invited me to do this, I adore her. She's a realtor, an amazing Jen. I miss you. A realtor who's in Oregon, and we met on vacation. But whenever Jen asked me to do something, it might not be something that I'm ever willing to try. I might not have ever said yes to anybody else. I almost can't say no to her. So I think sometimes you have those people who are a little specific. Um, Jay had a question in the chat, Amalia, that kind of aligned a little bit to that. He shared it a bit ago, but it said the word question. When you think of trust, which is today's topic, what comes to mind and how do you overcome distrust? Jay, that one, it takes a village because sometimes people invite us to empower ourselves and we may not feel ready. When there's distrust, it's part of what Yvette Bethel calls we have a trust sequence and we have a distrust sequence. When someone's in our distrust sequence, we could have intense distrust. When they're in our trust sequence, the highest part of that, Yvette says, is deep connected trust. It takes a long time. Think of it like weights that you would lift, or think of it as a pendulum. I Yvette has an amazing diagram in her wonderful training. She's with Organizational Soul and the IFB network, which stands for in interconnectivity, flow, and balance. Say that backwards, which she thinks are three laws. Those are the keys, Jay, to starting to overcome distrust. How connected do you feel to a person, to a relationship, to a situation? What's the flow like? Is it positive, vibey energy? Does it feel stagnant? And the balance part, that's really internal. I hope that helps a little bit, Jay. Let us know.
Awesome. And what I did, Melanie, too, I just put LinkedIn up on my double screen too, so I can see any delayed questions. So feel free to put your questions in the chat. All right. You know what? Based on the question, I feel like you answered it for me. And that was a really good question, Jay. Now, Melanie, when it comes to trust, because I feel like a lot of times I always like to establish the definition and what is it, and then literally what are warning signs we should look for when deciding if someone is trustworthy.
One of the things that really helped me frame this is Yvette Bell's definition. I met her at an emotional intelligence conference, and she was the only speaker whose full presentation I saw, right time. And Yvette said, trust is an emotion. And she also said, trust is bilateral. If you think of it, kind of like a coin, or I'm dating myself a little bit. We used to love tops. My dad would put a top where it was spinning top, and think of that top that would spin on its axis at different angles. That's what trust is like. It can lean one way, it can lean another way. How we define it at work, with our family, with colleagues, with ideal future clients, with the clients that we wish would release us, with older clients, with different generations and different cultures. The definition changes, and I've learned through a trust journal, figure out how I feel about it that day or that minute. And on the days when I'm not feeling it, I need to reach out to somebody I have deep connected trust with. I need to journal. I need to listen to some music. I need to do some deep breathing or a detoxful bath, or I need to take a nap. So, the definition of trust, I had a bunch of older LinkedIn polls, which had, I thought my answer when I asked what was trust, I thought trust, my answer was it was a byproduct of self trust. And attending Yvette's Say Yes to Me really helped me explore where some of the trust shadows were, the trust barriers. It helped me identify not the traumas, but stimuli I'd prefer not to be in a room with. I'm really inclusive. It's Pride Month. During Mental Health Awareness Month, it's not a month necessarily to ask people, how are you? And I learned that from a trust lens, because sometimes the person you may be asking doesn't necessarily feel it today. I learned during Mental Health Awareness Month through a lens to start asking people, what's one thing I can help you with today? Amalia does that all the time. And thank you again, darling.
Now, I love the fact that you said self trust because a lot of times we kind of ignore that gut feeling that kind of gives us warning signs or red flags when we're around someone or come in contact that give us a feeling of distrust. How would you kind of connect or explain that gut feeling that we sometimes receive? Do you feel like that's a form of self trusting or our own way of telling ourselves to trust ourselves because this doesn't feel right?
I definitely do. And one of my coaches used to say before, some days you feel like you need to get up and snap the elastic in your underwear. It's a bit graphic, and it took me a long time to really live into the answer. She was in marketing. She was letting me know that sometimes she was around clients who weren't always welcoming. She was in rooms with teams who weren't always listening, and they were her client. She couldn't leave. In those settings, your instincts are perhaps suggesting to you, here's who I should sit next to. Here's who I'd prefer not to sit next to. I learned after years of, I was a BNI member, I'm a BNI alumni. And after 14 years of volunteering too much and learning to respect my energy and my instincts, I learned that a couple of people who I didn't trust, the best way to not necessarily have to interact with them much, I started sitting next to them. When you sat next to them, you would pass each other materials. You would rarely be selected, for, they'd say, get up and move around. You would rarely interact with that person. And that for me became the way. When that instinct tells you, sometimes you have what I call the flashing yellow that matches beautiful Amalia's logo. It's like a hazardous light. Feels like, that flashing train track. And sometimes you're in a professional setting, you cannot avoid it. On the other hand, to acknowledge later when you have a chance, or privately with somebody you trust in the room. And if you're not sure who to trust, maybe you're the new kid on the block. Maybe you're the person who's just been onboarded on the team. Maybe you're the facilitator. But the best I saw ever with that was someone knew there were a bunch of different energies in the room, and he was the speaker. And we were in Vegas at a large conference, and the energy in the room felt a little anxious. I felt that before he started. And a lot of people were getting restless because they couldn't see who the speaker was. This gentleman established trust immediately, and he established peace by standing in his shorts and his sneakers on top of a chair in a conference room of 150 people. He immediately brought them through to attention. And he immediately changed the vibe because people started laughing. It created such a high vibe through the rest. I remember starting to take notes, and he's like, "Y'all don't worry about these notes. I'm sending you a link with bullet points later because y'all all registered." And people laughed again, but he really helped us lean in to the discomfort of, oh, this is one of those topics we're not sure how he's going to approach it. And you didn't have to feel like you weren't the subject matter expert in the room. He really leaned into the fact that we were sitting in the first presentation of the day. It was a little bit early and we weren't feeling it. And he said, "I'm dressed in shorts because after I have the pleasure of speaking with you, I'm going to play golf." So he said, "I encourage you, don't sit in class all day, even if you're working on your accreditation. Make sure you make space to relax because a very active 5 more days exist to the show, and you're going to need your energy." I really appreciated it. And I still follow him on LinkedIn. It was just fantastic, fantastic to kind of create trust by doing what Yvette said, changing the energy in the environment. Shawn Michael does it almost every time he comes into a room. Amalia does it. Dr. Marcia did it this morning in a really interesting conversation we were having, which, we were talking about some serious stuff, but you need someone who cares. And that I think is to feel like it. And from the self trust perspective, to remember that you love and care about yourself.
Oh, I love that. Love and care about yourself. And you know what? It sounded like he showed up as his authentic self, made it fun. It showed that he cared about the energy of the room and didn't care about who thought what he was doing with the shorts. And I love the fact because we talked about Sean earlier, and he had an event talking about, showing up authentically and when it becomes a performance and when it becomes being your authentic self. I love that. If you guys missed the replay, definitely check that out. But one thing I can say, showing up authentic builds trust, right? And it sounds like when he showed up to you guys and was doing what he was doing, it made you guys feel more comfortable. You trusted what he had to say, and it kind of put those walls and barriers down. But I love people like that, that makes the energy high. I like high energy, especially for us introverts. We're already like, hi, I'm in my shell. Nothing like laughter to break that shell, right?
It is. And sometimes you'll notice too that sometimes when everyone else is laughing, there's somebody who isn't. That's a great person to go talk to during a break. It's a person who may need more support. They may be neurodiverse. They may be someone who speaks another language and they're translating every word that's heard into another language. I was honored last year to be approached and have my first visually impaired client. I learned thanks to Felipe, who Jay is mentioning in chat, Felipe Confino. um, about when we put posts on LinkedIn with a lot of text, or we bold them, or we have a lot of fonts, that it doesn't necessarily help someone with a text reader. We don't allow a lot of space in our text in between the emojis. And I learned this in Social Saturday chat. And Felipe told me just in time to meet an ideal future client the next week. I think sometimes that process of we speak different languages, we have different styles. Sometimes that person who's not smiling at the joke, they had a really crappy day. They just saw a really bad text. Something or someone could have done something to make them feel uncomfortable. And it's up to us to remind them, human to human, if we can, if we have the space in our role or as facilitators. Ah, beautiful Angie is here. Sage energies and sage leadership in the house. This amazing woman. I'm gonna let you read this, Amalia, and grab a sip of something and hydrate. Warm welcome, Angie.
Angie, thank you so much. So I love this, by the way. She said, just had a convo with a leader today about how important it is for her to show up consistently and authentically in order to build trust. Even if what she has to share isn't something they want to hear, she is consistent. They will always trust her. And one thing I love about this too, I love the fact that you said, even if what she has to share isn't what something like someone wants to hear. Well, when you have a community or audience, your message may not always be what everyone wants to hear, but you may be what that one person needs to hear, right? Someone that's new, that's going on your page. So showing up consistently matters. And then always remember, it's okay if you're not for everyone. Your tribe will find you. So keep showing up and keep giving that value. So I love this, Angie. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. All right. Now, Melanie, I do have another question for you. I want to give you your time to sip your drink. But I do want to know, like, how can we align our experiences with trust? Or, like, well, you know what? I feel like you already kind of touched that. So I kind of want to go deeper into, like, how can we identify trust opportunities to help us improve our relationships or address our money mastery journey? That's a good one right there.
So let's start with the money mastery part, because I hate to say it, it's almost easier than the occasionally the identifying your trust opportunities. So sometimes in the process, some of us don't have really high environmental awareness. And Angie's done an amazing job. For those of you who are in her Sage Leadership community, which meets on Thursday mornings at 10 a.m. Eastern in Clubhouse, Angie's had a fabulous, and it's a room to be in on Clubhouse, believe me, fabulous recordings too. But discussions about energy and about our intentions. And in terms of earning revenue, I'll give you a good example. Somebody I don't know well, I who I'm really excited about. They're actually upcoming as an Impossible Live guest. They introduced me to somebody who they thought would be really good to provide a service to me. I wasn't ready to buy. And I think sometimes in terms of money mastery, sometimes people will spend a lot of time trying to kind of scratch the nails on the chalkboard to identify whether we're a really good qualified fit. And sometimes in that process, they can cause a money mastery issue because they're not aware that they're treating us a little bit less than human. They're treating us as if we were a piece of meat or a portobello mushroom. I don't know a better way to put it. But from the money mastery part, we understand everybody's got bills they want to pay. Everyone has services or products they want to offer. They want to be valued. They want to be respected. They want to close a sale. They're trying to get to those 9 no's so they can hear that 10th yes, which people used to say. I think that number's increased, and I'm not a sales coach. We can ask one of the great sales professionals. But I think that's the part behind the money mastery is realizing We want to fill your bank account as much sometimes as we're interested in filling our own. So remembering there's another person on the other end. On the other hand, there may be somebody like Kimberly Lechnick who talks all the time about servant leadership, and her faith walk is so strong. She'll open a lot of doors. The other part about identifying your trust opportunities is something I really go in deep into that CEDAR series, and I was grateful to have a training in TLB Club in the recordings about it. Sometimes identifying a trust opportunity means we're eliminating isolation. That person I mentioned who might not be laughing earlier, might not be smiling, they may be in a corner by themselves. They may be the new kid on their block who is identified at an event by a different color badge. They may be fumbling with materials. And sometimes eliminating isolation can be our greatest way to identify a trust opportunity, to really listen to another human and create an opportunity for a conversation. On the other hand, some people may not feel like talking. They're there because their boss sent them, they're there because they were told it's the place to be, and they're not feeling the vibe of the room. And respecting that need for privacy, sometimes that need for space, that might also be a good trust opportunity, because later, the next time you meet that person, they may greet you with a smile because you heard them, you saw them, you felt them, and you validated them. I hope that helps a little bit. I have much longer in the trust opportunities, but those are just two that I think of. And that part about active and deep listening, which is something Angie always encourages in her Sage Leadership community. It's in Amalia's community, it's in Sean's community, it's a bunch of other community leaders who are with us. But I also think what Angie mentioned in the chat about the person trying to meet everybody, that sometimes there are things we do to erode trust. Maybe we don't meet someone in the eyes. Maybe in the old days of lots of handshakes, and I remember coming out of school and people said, as a woman in business, make sure that you had a firm handshake, make sure your hand wasn't sweaty, you know. um, but I do think it's possible, and it's one of the reasons why we talk about replenishing trust. And I think of it as rejuvenating trust, because there's so many things we do. We don't even realize we did something, as Angie saying, to erode trust, to make it fade, to make it almost impossible for us to earn it. And, you know, we don't even realize by, say you work for New York Life, for example, and the tagline is the company you keep. And in the process, you're repeating everything that everyone has already said that they're memorizing about New York Life. Somebody who meets you, they want to know about you. They want to know you see them. They don't necessarily want to hear the tagline. So I hope that helps a little bit, Amalia. Let me know.
No, it does. And I love the fact that you mentioned how easy it is to kind of break trust. And sometimes we don't even know we're doing it. It's like you can promise that you're going to send something to someone and you get busy or distracted and then forget. And then next thing you know, it's like, oh, yeah, but you've already kind of broke that trust now. You're no longer reliable. They probably want to go to someone else that they can trust to actually do something for them. And I really feel like communication is a huge factor when it comes to regaining that trust back. So I love everything you said. And I would love to like take a moment because I did a master class on social audio and I couldn't express more and more to include your listeners, include your audience. So Mel, I'm going to start with you. And then I encourage those that are listening. What is some things that you've either experienced or someone have done to you that have broken trust? And keep it, you don't have to go in details, give names, but what are some things that you've experienced, if you're comfortable, that made you feel like okay, that kind of made that trust barometer go a little lower than what you've had?
There was somebody who I worked with. So way back in the days, I was in the garment industry and I worked in a buying office. And in the buying office, I was being trained the first day, and they had hired me as like an administrative assistant. When they hired me, I never thought about where I'd sit. And that first day, I walk in, dressed kind of to the nines, kind of claustrophobic. And I sat next to a person who was training me how to use the switchboard. She kept whispering all day. And as people would come in, you're not going to like them. That person. And they were leaving the next week. They told me every secret about everybody who walked past. And it reached a point where I was like, some of what they're saying could frame a future relationship with a coworker. Some of it really showed me how angry this person was and how frustrated they were by leaving. When she went out to lunch, somebody walked up to me and they said, I can see you're really patient because she's not always very nice. And some of what she told you about others wasn't nice. When she was speaking, she didn't realize there was somebody immediately around the corner. And that taught me, that person who came up to me when she went out to lunch, they became the person I smiled at every single morning. They were the first person I bought a gift for. And I really appreciated it because through that lens, they shared their mistrust, their distrust, their trust resistant. They basically told me exactly why they were leaving, kind of like, you'll hate this too. And I think it really reminded me we can invite people in and try not to cloud their lens, cloud their judgment. So I really want to thank you for reminding me that story is way back when. I never forgot her. And I'm grateful to not have met her again.
You'd be surprised. Sometimes the biggest way, and I feel like we pay attention, the biggest way to lose trust in someone is your own behaviors, right? You were identifying the things she was saying, and it's like, oh, okay. I feel like the biggest thing we hear someone talk about someone else is like, what will you say about me? Right? At least for me, I pay attention to all of those things, especially when it comes to the corporate world. You just have to really be careful. But for me, Melanie, one of the biggest things that will make me lose trust is those that say they're listening, but they're not really listening. So I had an experience to where I got on a call with someone and they looked at my profile I saw on LinkedIn, but when I jumped on the call, they were pitching me and had no idea of like really what I did, what my pain points. They just assumed what I was struggling with, assumed what I needed help with, assumed they knew my expertise and was wrong. And rather than stopping to listen, to allow me to speak, the whole entire time, I love when you say this, they were sucking up the air. I was in the call like, whoa, how do I politely get off? Do I say my internet, lose internet connection? But, I didn't want to lie. So I was like, you know what? I appreciate you taking the time, but I do have to go at the moment. We can circle back for this conversation. But it made me so uncomfortable because I could not get a word in. It was all about, do you want to purchase? Do you want to buy? And that was immediately a turn off. And I just didn't trust them because if you can't even listen to me to know what I really need, how can I trust you to provide me value, support, or even the transformation I'm looking for if you can't even stop to listen to me?
Oof, that's a mic drop. I appreciate you because you reminded me of something Ivan Meisner said years ago in BNI. He asked us at an event of 150 people, how many of you showed up to buy something today? And one person raised her hand. He says, for all of you who are here to sell rather than listen and get to know each other, I need you to know that's the only person who's interested in buying something. And then he asked her who she wanted to buy it from, and he set that person up for a sale, but I never forgot it. We may look like the ideal prospect. We're not. We may be interested. We may be your next best friend. We may be your next spouse. I love I love the clarity and transparency. Thank you so much, Amalia, for your story. It really helps us all.
Yeah, and everyone, if you want to, in the comments, you can share certain things that make you lose trust or things you experience. If you're not comfortable, trust me, you don't have to, but if you want to share, feel free. All right. Well, Melanie, we do have a few things I do want to announce for you, but I just have one more question because it's always fun. I love myth busters, right? So, what is one common myth about trust you would like to bust today?
And for those who were in a group coaching with me earlier, the myth I'd like to bust is when you put it into an AI platform, the word build comes back. It's part of our common language about building trust. That's a myth I'd like. That's a myth I'd like to bust in the sense of if we build trust, it's like think of building blocks, think of Legos, think of Jenga, when you pull out, think of that house of cards, that somebody just blows over. If you build trust on a shaky foundation, it's not a lasting relationship. It may be, as Yvette Bethel taught me, it may be loyalty, it may be fear, it may be something else. Somebody, and I appreciate being reminded of the story earlier today. Somebody who was in my BNI group who smiled all the time. They rarely had anything nice to say, and they rarely said nice things to your face. And that part is a myth that we don't feel that vibe, that intention, and that's the part, that myth about building trust, and that people don't really have a good sense of your sincerity.
I love
Yes,
it.
Dr. Marcia. Oh my gosh, I love that. Thank you so much, Amalia, for spotlighting that. Trust loves and responds to truth.
And I do want to highlight Jacqueline did share her response with us, and it's that fake introduction. I agree, and those AI introductions that is AI. So, no, I definitely agree. All right. Well, Melanie, I want to highlight something here because you did March for us in the Audio Leadership Club, and March was all about trust. And I am so excited to see the CEDAR series back. Honestly, the Ignite Trust. So I would love for you to tell us more about it and how they can find it and everything else because we truly enjoyed it. For those of you, let us know in the comments if you tuned in with us in March as Melanie did her 4-part masterclass series with us. And guess what? She's coming back to give you guys another dose of Ignite Trust. So, Melanie, I'm going to hand the mic to you. Please tell us more.
Thank you. For those who are just popping in, the Ignite Trust series is about the word cedar and trying to create lasting relationships with deep roots like a cedar tree. So the first part of that is the C in cedar for cultivate trust. That part of the series that was launched in Amalia's Amazing Audio Leadership Club in March was game changing for me, life changing. Not only because amazing Bryn Tillman popped in, who's one of my coaches of Social Sales Link and AskSSL.ai, but it was an opportunity to really stretch. Cultivate trust is something I suggest because you're trying to plant seeds. So hopefully you get lovely deep roots like a cedar tree, spiritual. It feels like the right vibe, the right place. So the C is for cultivate trust. The E is for explore trust. The D is for develop trust. The A is for attract trust. And the R is for replenish trust because it's hard to repair. I thought in the beginning that the R in cedar would be like repair trust. Once it's broken, if there's no trust willingness, can't fix it. If there's no time, no privacy, you really can't address it. So I'm really excited as I'm repeating the series, testing out a brand, being a brand ambassador for Graphy, who has a content creator platform. I am not a user of their content creator platform yet. This is my first time, my debut. And Cheryl Moses is going to pop in and join us as we repeat the Ignite Trust series. So I'm starting out on Graphy's platform. We're going to test it out. We're going to see what it feels like. We're going to make sure the energy's right. And it's a webinar platform, so I'll miss the intimacy of Amalia's great community where we could see everybody on a Zoom screen. I would encourage you, if you can, to register. I would also encourage you not to send a note taker. Be fully present when you can. Graphy will not, like Amalia has in her wonderful audio leadership club. Amalia has the masterclass resources. Graphy is not necessarily making those available, but there's no investment for the masterclass in the Ignite Trust series. If I start this test and move it to my own StreamYard webinar, there will still be no investment for this next version of the Ignite Trust series. And I hope that's a little more information about CEDAR. Feel free to pop in on Wednesday, say hi in the chat, let us know what your definition of trust is. Know that Graphy is going to share an invitation to invest in their boot camp. That's not a Mel Ignite Trust product. It is their offer for emerging content creators and for those trying to use chat GPT differently to build your brand. I did attend the boot camp. I wasn't a fan of AI at the time. It was really helpful to help me um, start looking at it differently on how to have a conversation with AI. So Bryn's popping in on Wednesday. She'll help us with the social selling on LinkedIn. She'll help us with using the AI. And Cheryl is an amazing, wonderful coach who is my intuitive success coach. She's a dear friend. And she launched a Rewired to Reset webinar on Graphy, which is what encouraged me to try this test. So, Amalia, thanks so much for a chance to share it with your wonderful audience.
Absolutely. And you know what? I did post that link in the chat. So if you are tuning in on a mobile device and cannot scan the QR code, you guys can go ahead and just go right there. I actually want to put it on the screen too. We love QR codes, but sometimes it's good. And I love the fact that Restream does show us when someone scans. So thank you for those that are tuning in live. They're actually signing up. This event is free, right, Melanie?
Yes, this event is free. This next incarnation, as was the Cedar Trust Masterclass in Amalia series, is definitely without an investment. I will repeat it later, and we'll repeat it later with a deep dive with an affordable investment.
I
And
love
then in the September at a live event.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And I hope to actually meet you in September. I am mentally preparing myself to jump on a plane to get to you, just so you know.
I think, we have the same incarnation. I laugh because um, I was in your amazing state many moons ago, and there was a wonderful little town. It's on my list to go back to with Amalia, but I'm ready to come drive to see you, even if the flights don't permit. So we can meet in the middle too, or maybe we'll meet at someplace cool, possibly Philly.
Oh, I love it. I've been in Philadelphia once because I do have friends that I went to college with that live out there. So I do love that. I usually actually fly in to the Philadelphia airport. So I'm looking forward to that. But I do want to make sure I highlight all your QR codes for today because for those that know me, I love bonuses. So we do have a few good things that Melanie is offering for you guys today. And then I'll also let you talk more about it. So again, I'm just going to kind of bring the CEDAR part one up because guys, I'm telling you, Melanie, is there a replay if they can't tune in live, if they just want to sign up just to get the replay?
For this one, there is not, but if you reach out to me, I do have takeaways from when we did it in Amalia's Audio Leadership Club. And if you're an Audio Leadership Club member or you join shortly, the replays are in Amalia's great community. When I do offer this as a paid webinar, I will make sure that I share a recording with anybody who registers and signs up.
Awesome. And then that brings me to my next QR code. If you are not connected with Melanie, make sure you do so. This link or QR code goes directly to her LinkedIn profile. So make sure you connect. And just because she has so many great things other than the masterclass, would you like to talk about Event Alchemy? And because you come, like you do live events on Mondays, you do so much, Melanie. This is your
So
spotlight.
So you're going to laugh. A wonderful coach by the name of Stephanie Treasure years ago. I had a live trade show expo boot camp I was doing. I was doing it for Chambers, and one of my old friends had come up with the name. I called it Trade Show Expo Boot Camp. She would rather call it How to Pimp Your Trade Show Booth was the name she gave it way back when. And we did it so many times that I ended up doing it as a paid workshop for Women's Economic Development Center and the local chambers. It was great. And one of the things it led to, from the introvert, from the challenges of trying to start a conversation, from being a person who the analysis paralysis, track could kind of set in sometimes. Is this perfect? At my first event, I forgot my business cards. At my first indoor event, I forgot my business cards. At my first outdoor event, I forgot my tablecloth. I mean, the teeny little things. So that led to really now about 16, 17 years of solid event experience, from small outdoor fairs and events to larger conferences. One of our clients was at a show where 65,000 people attended. So helping people with events from all sizes. And we would do it in person, we do it virtually. I'd offer concierge, services. I do people sign in and check out, check you in, check in a couple of hundred people at an event, check you out in the sense of giving you swag bags and thank you for coming and attending. Everything from a book launch to a milestone celebration. That led to a lot of event experience, and I have a passion for fundraising. I'm on the board of Fearless Hudson Valley, domestic violence, human trafficking, teen dating violence, and I love helping not-for-profits raise funds. Michael Roach and I co-host Event Alchemy Experiences. You'll see the hashtag all over LinkedIn. We've been doing it now a little bit over 18 months. And the thing we love doing is getting a group of people together, whether their cameras on Zoom or not. We originally were on LinkedIn Audio. Now it's just on Zoom, but we do it 3 times a month, and we pick 5 o'clock usually. 3 times a month, we pick it. The time I let Michael picks the days around his children's recital and school schedule, and that's what Event Alchemy is. And I'm an event strategist. I can kind of help you and your team fill the gaps and help you determine whether you need volunteers, whether you need an extra hand, what your tablecloth looks like, what your signage, what gifts or incentives you're handing out, what apparel you're wearing. So it can be soup to nuts. And thanks for asking about Event Alchemy Experiences. Definitely a passion. And it really led to the work and trust, because in the process, I met a lot of people who were afraid to stop by your table. They're afraid to take your business card. They don't want to shake your hand. They're afraid to come close to your booth because they've got some fear we're going to pitch them. And the only way to overcome that now, we combine Event Alchemy Experiences with the process of Ignite Trust to help you create conversations with ease.
I love it. And then, of course, Impossible Live. I'm excited. I got a chance to join you. So if you guys missed that, definitely go to her profile and catch the replay. And I cannot wait to join you in the fall. Did you want to kind of highlight a little bit more about Impossible Live, or that kind of ties into, everything that you've already kind of gave the audience?
That was a labor of love that started around the time when I started exploring a trust certification. I'd received the invitation to go live on LinkedIn, and I found a dynamic guest I wanted to have a great conversation with. It started around the word "I'm possible," and my mom made me capitalize the P because she says otherwise it looked like the word impossible. You couldn't see the asterisk. So it started out. Be Visible was the name of my first hybrid retreat, and the process of going from be visible to the process of going from invisible to be visible to be profitable. Everybody wanted to get to that money, making a zillion stage. And during the pandemic, I realized the impossible was the missing step in between be visible and be profitable. And sticking with it weekly to remind this introvert to do what we're doing now, have a conversation with Amalia, another introvert. Look at us here with the audio events queen.
Oh, Melanie, did I lose you?
Not at all. It's on Impossible Live is on most Mondays at 2 p.m. Eastern. And it's on LinkedIn, it's on Meta, and you can also find this on YouTube.
I love it. And everyone, my apologies. It's storming where I am. So, Melanie, if it went out, my deepest apologies.
We
But no,
are having storms across the miles, so let's stay safe and keep you safe too.
well, everyone, I appreciate you guys joining us. I know we're kind of on the hour mark, but I want to make sure we spotlighted everything. And Melanie, you do so much, and we appreciate you so much. You are such a beautiful soul. And I do want to highlight too, just a last thing of value that you are offering is your building trust. It's like your complimentary session that they can book with you. Would you like to talk a little bit more about that before we close out this evening?
Sure, there's a complimentary building a trust toolkit, and there was also an opportunity to get a freebie, a PDF on creating to help you create conversations and explore some of the things that we were talking about creating trust opportunities. But in a short call, you can invite whoever you'd like, a colleague, a boss, a new employee, um, someone who is neurodiverse who you're helping kind of translate the language, someone who needs a bilingual translator. Is You're welcome to join us and invite somebody to join us. The thing I encourage you to do is lean in and ask a question about what is something we can do to help you, and you'll laugh. I put building trust complimentary because building implies it's a process. It's ongoing. It's not going to be built. We can't just build it. And I put building trust so it clears the SEO. And it's a reminder after saying it's hard to build trust, building trust. We need to do it together.
I agree. I also put that link in the comments. So if you are tuning in on a mobile device, feel free to click that link and schedule time with Melanie. Well, Melanie, I appreciate you giving me your time every time. Everyone, let me tell you, when I say you couldn't tell me I've never met Melanie in person, when I say I feel like we are connected. I feel like you know how I hear people say my LinkedIn bestie. Well, I feel like you are someone very special in my heart that I met on LinkedIn, and it's always a pleasure having you join me, whether it's through video events, audio events, and I'm really looking forward to meeting you in person.
Likewise, and I want to thank you. The honor and the pleasure is mine. You help us overcome fears. You help us stretch out. You help us take steps. You help us reach higher, farther, kind of like that crown over the microphone in your audio leadership club. So I'm looking forward to seeing you and to watching that crown light up in person.
I truly appreciate you. I did see Curtis join us. Hi, Curtis. I do want to give some shout outs for those that are tuning in that we may not have the ability to say hello. So, Curtis, hi. Adrian, it's always a pleasure to see you. I believe is Rashonda. I believe I'm saying that right. Right, Melanie? Can you see the chat as well? She's in.
Yes, it might be Rashida.
Okay. If I said your name
Rashid
wrong,
and Rashida, I'm coming your way for a retreat. So I've got a lot of family near Ray Street and near Fairmount Park. So I think that's the name of that very large park in Philly. You let us know. We are heading your way.
nice. And then the fact that we've been doing songs. Now I have Motown Philly's back again when she mentioned Voice to Man. Angie, thank you so much for tuning in. Dr. Marcia, we appreciate you. Jacqueline, thank you for tuning in with us. Meryl, we appreciate you as always. Of course, Sean, thank you so much. And then let's see, make sure I'm not missing anyone. We have Jay. Jay, thank you so much for tuning in live with us. If you are tuning in live, feel free to comment. If you are watching the replay, still let us know that you're tuning in so we can come and say hello to you as well. If you have any questions after the event, make sure you still put those in the comment section so we can come back and get those questions answered for you. But I think I did cover everyone, the majority of everyone. Lisa. Lisa, thank you again for joining us. Yvonne, I believe I'm saying it right, Melanie? Yvonne Woodard. All
Yeah.
right. All right.
Yep. And Dr. Marcia, and thank you so much, everybody, for popping in to join us. If you're unable to locate a space in Building Trust Complimentary, send me a direct message. There are more spaces available. I will definitely open one up. And happy Father's Day to the dads in the audience who are celebrating, to the single moms, to the fur dads, to the uncles, to the granddads, to the godfathers. Thank you all, everybody who's helping raise a nation of children and fur babies.
Absolutely. And guys, don't forget, it is this week, right, Melanie, that part 1 is happening. So if you did not click on the link, if you want more information, please reach out to Melanie. Look, I know myself, I'm really good at getting distracted and forgetting. So if you are interested in being part 1, I say we have Sean with us. Make sure you guys go ahead and click that. All right. It is free. Who doesn't like free value, right, Melanie?
Definitely. We're here to help all of the lifelong learners and create a generation of new ones.
Absolutely. All right, everyone. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And until next time, for my members, if you want to be spotlighted, make sure to send me an inbox. I want to make sure I spotlight all my amazing members in the Audio Leadership Club. If you're interested in being a member of the Audio Leadership Club, make sure you go to the audioleadershipclub.com and join our waiting list so we can get you in. All right, everyone. Enjoy.